I'm not sure about you kiddies, but your Uncle Spurt's starting to get a wee bit confused about all these fresh new Moto Edge phones being spaffed out. And I know I'm getting to that age where I am quite easily confused and sometimes put my pants on backwards. But seriously, there's more Edge 50 blowers now than there are Baldwin brothers. And this here Edge 50 Neo is the latest satisfyingly strokeable blower that Motorola has hoyed into the mix. It offers similar specs to the Edge 50 Fusion, but for precisely 50 quid more. How apt. So is it actually worth those 5 crisp tenors to upgrades to the Edge 50 Neo? Well, let's whip it on out the box, test out the camera tech, the gaming chops, all that good stuff. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do plug subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers. Oh, it's another one of these heavily perfumed boxes again. Smells like a hooer's handbag, as my old granddad would say. And what do you actually get stuffed inside of there besides the Moto Edge 50 Neo? Well, you've got your USB charging cable, bit of quick start guff, pokey sim pin, some of the key stats. Apparently it's rated A for energy, B for drop resistance, B for repairability, yada yada. And you've also got an eco-friendly phone case crafted by Swedish company A Good Company. And this is apparently made with Swedish plants. Potentially the bog bilberry or the creepin' lady's tresses. These sound like things out of Lord of the friggin' Rings. Anyway, that's everything packed inside of the box. So as usual, bugger all adapter. Gonna have to provide that one yourself. So that's the box. Now let's actually check out the Moto Edge 50 Neo. And this handset actually defies the Edge 50 design conventions set out by its siblings. Because as you can see, you've got a perfectly flat display here. It doesn't curve around the edges like all of its bros. And personally, I prefer a flat display. I find it's a bit more user-friendly. Could have done with a bit more curvature on those edges just to make it a bit more comfortable, improve the hand feel. And the Neo isn't just one of the most compact Motorola phones of 2024. It's one of the most mini mobiles of the entire year so far. Pleasurably dinky at just 6.4 inches. So it's only a mite bigger than the likes of the Pixel 9 and the Pixel 9 Pro. Pretty skinny bezels surrounding that display, so not much extra bulk or girth added on there. And pretty skinny overall and weighs just 171 grams. And that's mostly down to the fact that you've got a plastic frame here, which does make the Neo feel a bit more budgety. And hey, flip the Edge 50 Neo around and you've got Motorola's usual fake leathery arse shenanigans. Gotta say, one of the best looking back ends in the business. Feels really nice and soft to the touch. And I like the way that the camera bump almost blends in with the back there as well. You've got a slight ridge there, but otherwise nice gentle contours. And oh yes, Pantone has stamped its mark on there as well, because you can grab the Neo in a choice of 4 different Pantone colours, only half of which I can actually pronounce. So you've got Latte, which is of course a creamy brown. You've got Nautical Blue, no slaps on the back for guessing the colour of that one. You've also got Poinciana? It's red basically, alright? And then last up, this one here, which is Grizzly. It's kind of a bluey grey, I guess. It's alright, it wouldn't be my first choice. Now the Moto Edge 50 Neo sports a bit of Gorilla Glass 3 plating up front, which I believe is slightly crappier than the cheaper Edge 50 Fusion. That one had a bit of Gorilla Glass 5, and you don't get a pre-installed screen protector here on the Neo either, so you might want to slap one on just in case. Of course, you've got that case bundled in the box as well, and it's also passed some military standard 810H testing. So for instance, it can survive in incredibly crappy weather, as cold as -20 degrees, so good news for my fellow northern chums. It could also apparently survive temperatures about as hot as Satan's taint, or around 60 degrees. And the Edge 50 Neo also IP68 rated, so fine around dust and dirt and sand and small particly crap like that. It can also be fully submerged in water, a sink or a bathtub or whatever, just towel it off good and proper, should be absolutely fine. And one of the best things about Motorola blowers is that lovely stock Android vibe. It's nice and crisp and clean, minimal buggering about. It's got similar aesthetics to those Pixel phones, just with a bit of a Motorola tweak. And of course you've got that brilliant Moto app as well, which allows you to quickly and easily personalize your device, changing up the fonts, the icon shapes, the UI colors. You've got a brilliant selection of gestures on here as well. The likes of flip for do not disturb, very handy when you're getting calls in the middle of a meeting or something. You got your 3-finger screenshot, and of course my personal favorite, the fast torch. Moto Secure adds some excellent bonus bits to the already fantastic Android security offering. Speaking of which, as well as the in-display optical fingerprint sensor, which seems to work just fine, you've also got a good bit of face unlock action. It's pretty handy if your fingers are moist or a bit grubby. As you can see, they're pretty fast to act, if not quite as secure as the old fingerprint sensor. And you've got some extra stuff like that gaming mode, which we'll touch on in a bit. And it looks like you've got basically the full suite of Motorola apps stashed on here, including good old Family Space and the Smart Connect app. It's pretty good for quickly sharing files with your laptop or using your smartphone camera as a webcam for your zoomy, chatty shenanigans. As for the storage, well, 256 gigs of the stuff crammed in here, not quite as generous as what the Fusion offered. And not only is that not expandable via microSD, you've actually only got space for one SIM card in there, but you do at least have support for eSIM. And unfortunately, a bit of crapware is starting to creep its way onto Motorola phones these days. The usual bloody offenders: LinkedIn, Facebook, Booking.com. There's nothing sacred anymore. However, there is some really good news with the Neo as well, because while most Motorola smartphones typically only offer sort of 2 or 3 years of Android OS updates and security patching, Motorola has very kindly updated that to 5 full years of updates for this bad boy. So that should really help boost the longevity if you want to blow it to stash in your pants for the next several years. Anyhow, the Edge 50 Neo sports a POLED display just like its siblings, although obviously a bit more compact here and with a completely flat finish. You've actually got a 2670 by 1220 pixel resolution, so it's sharper than the likes of the Fusion. Got some ultra crispy visuals hitting 460 pixels per inch. You've apparently got HDR10 plus streaming support. Netflix hasn't registered that yet, but hopefully it will do soon. Certainly the contrast is as good as you'd expect from an OLED. Those colours do appear slightly muted on the default natural setting, but you can give them a bit of a kick up the arse in the display settings, make them more vivid and vibrant. And it's a proper bright panel as well, clear outdoor visibility, even when it is actually a bit sunny. Not that us Brits have anything to worry about there for the next several months. And it's LTPO tech as well, so the refresh rate scales as high as 120 Hz for supported apps, and it can also shift all the way down to just 1 Hz, which is really handy for the always-on display, helps to conserve power. You've got the usual eye care shenanigans to prevent your peepers from melting, including night lights for filtering blue light in the evenings, but a flicker prevention as well. And you've also got a stereo speaker setup here on the Motorola Edge 50 Neo with full Dolby Atmos support, so your lugs will be spaffing in sheer joy. Certainly follically challenged northern knobbers have never sounded better. Proper pocket pleaser at just 6.1 inches. Unlike the prostate popping Pixel 9 Pro XL, or of course the bloody Fold. Certainly got a respectable peak volume there, and the clarity doesn't fall to bits when you do max it all the way out. Could perhaps use a wee bit more of a kick in the bass department, but you know, it's absolutely fine for your YouTubing or whatever. And besides that, no headphone jack, so yeah, you will have to get wirelessly connected to your headphones if you don't want to dongle it up. Now the performance was a bit of a surprise, I've got to admit, on the Motorola Edge 50 Neo. You've got MediaTek's Dimensity 7300 stuffed in here, the same chipset that powers the CMF Phone 1 by nothing, which is of course super cheap at just 200 quid. I was back to my review model by 8 gigs of RAM. The everyday running absolutely fine, a little bit of slowdown in the camera app once or twice, but the gaming effort was what really took me by surprise, because it's shockingly smooth when you load up a bit of Wuthering Waves, even when you boost some of those graphics settings up to the higher levels. I did see the occasional dips in the frame rate here and there, but overall the game remains quite stable, especially impressive for a phone at this sort of price point. And even more impressively, the Neo actually stayed pretty damn cool even when I was gaming for well over an hour. And if the likes of Wuthering Waves runs fine on this thing, well, yeah, the likes of PUBG, Call of Duty, Genshin Impact, all that other stuff should run absolutely fine as well. And yes, you've got Motorola's dedicated gaming mode, which you can swipe or poke out at any point. This offers up some respectable features, including good old performance mode type shenanigans. You can block notifications, tweak the screen sensitivity, yada yada. Now, while I adore the dinkier design here on the Motorola Edge 50 Neo, the more mini frame does mean you get a more compact battery stuffed inside compared with its siblings. It's a 4,310 mAh capacity cell. But because you've got that energy efficient MediaTek chipset running the show, you've got a nice clean stock version of Android on there as well. Various factors mean that the battery life actually isn't cack. Should make it through a fairly long, arduous day with plenty of screen on time as long as you're not constantly playing Wuthering Waves or video chatting or anything. But hey, if you find yourself running low on power in the middle of the day, well, never fear, you've got 68 watt wide charging support on it, just like the Fusion, so bang a cable in it, and give it a good old juice in, just 10 minutes or so, and it should have enough power to last you a good few more hours. And you've also got a tasty bit of wireless charging support on here as well. And let's finish this lovely Motorola Edge 50 Neo unboxing and tour with a squint at that camera tech. And I'm not too surprised to see Motorola stick with that 50 megapixel Sony Lightyear 700C camera sensor that it also stuffed inside of the Fusion. Thought this was an excellent choice because it generally pumps out some pretty good pics even in more challenging conditions. Here's just a few examples shot around the old homestead this past 24 hours. As you can see, even in low light situations, you tend to get quite bright, quite bold looking pictures. Not too much grain creeping in there. You do once again have that auto enhance feature for your HDR type situations, which helps to brighten up those darker areas and produce a more balanced pic if losing some of the sort of realism. As you can see, this has quite an impact when there is strong contrast. The Edge 50 Neo also sports a 13 megapixel ultra wide angle shooter, the same as the Fusion. And this is also used for any macro shenanigans you want to get up to. But you've also now got yourself a 10 megapixel telephoto shooter with 3 times optical zoom to get a bit closer to your subject. This does a pretty good job, as long as you're not zooming in too far, otherwise things do get a little bit quirky, shall we say, around that 30 times maximum zoom level. And of course you've got the usual Motorola bonus bits, including the portrait mode. You've got the full-on pro controls as well if you want to mess around with the white balance, the ISO level, shutter speed. If you tap your way into more, all the usual standard stuff, including spot color. Night vision is tucked away in here, but you can always customize this. Drag that into the main fold and get rid of any other bits that you don't use. And you've also got yourself that 50 meg ultra res mode if you want to shoot high resolution photos. If you want to shoot some home movies, you can capture full HD footage at 30 or 60 frames per second. Otherwise, you can bump up the resolution to 4K as long as you don't mind sticking at 30 FPS. Because otherwise that just bumps the resolution back down. And while you're shooting, even at 4K resolution, you can do a bit of zoomy zoom action, get a bit closer to your subject. The audio pickup seems pretty clean, stabilization respectable, even at 4K levels, so yeah, fine. And then last up around front, it is your typical 32 megapixel selfie snapper, which, you know, if you actually like capturing photos of your own face, well, yeah, does a job. And you can once again shoot up to 4K Ultra HD resolution of video using that front-facing selfie cam. The audio pickup again, absolutely fine. So this will do the job when it comes to a bit of video chat action. And there you have it, my lovelies. That in a tasty wee nutshell is the fresh new Motorola Edge 50 Neo. It might be a bit more expensive than that Fusion, but I've got to say I really like it. Quite a few advantages over the Fusion. You got that telephoto camera shooter, you got the wireless charging support, you've got extra years of OS upgrading to look forward to, and of course you can squeeze it into your pants without straining your groinal region. A few disadvantages as well, so you've got less storage stuffed on here, you got the smaller battery, not that it seems to make much difference at all, and of course it costs you extra beer money. And of course the Edge 50 Neo is up against some strong competition from other manufacturers as well. A lot of great mid-range mobiles around that sort of £400 price point these days. I'm going to fully update my best mid-range phones video from about 3 months ago because it's already massively out of date. We've had some crackers launch recently. Anyway, that's what I reckon of the Moto Edge 50 Neo. It'd be great to hear your thoughts on this nifty mini blower in the comments below. Please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech, and have yourselves a ruddy wonderful rest of the week. Cheers everyone, love you!